Welcome to the Dear Doc podcast, where we will discuss the business of running a dental practice with a panel of experts. Now, your host, Dr. Christopher Hoffpower.
This is Dr. Christopher Hoffpower coming to you from my studio here in Alvin, Texas. Today on the Dear Doc podcast, we are going to be interviewing a good friend of mine and frankly, in my opinion, one of the most upstanding ethical dentists out there, and that is Dr. Vu Lee. Vu, don't blush too much. Before we get into our interview, though, I'm going to make a little space holder for a word from our sponsor.
Do you feel like you are wasting your time and money marketing your dental practice? The fact is, most marketing companies are not focused on your best interests. They focus on their profit. At Art of Dental Marketing, our engagements are month to month, allowing you a low risk and foundational level to build trust as we build real solutions. Right now, TBOD members can enjoy exclusive discounted pricing on our ultra-fast websites and local SEO services. Visit us online at artofdentalmarketing.com or call us at 913-214-8502.
Okay, folks, we're here with Dr. Vu Lee. Vu, you're going to talk to us today about the good, the bad, and the ugly in your journey with Carestack. Now, you actually implemented Carestack about how long ago?
I implemented it, let's see, it's been just about a year now. So, we've been through our 4 seasons of Carestack. I would say they're 4 seasons, right? When we first started, I'd say that was definitely the winter. We definitely started in the winter, figuratively speaking. I think it was not very long after it's the midst of the COVID pandemic, so the practice is falling apart and,
Absolutely.
Lots of stress from that. But we got it implemented. The journey was actually a few months long. They actually took their time getting everything going. They had a transition rep. I forget the name of it. Migration rep. Anyway, nice gal. She tried to walk us through all the hundreds of things that you have to check off to get going on any practice management transition. And that's something I'd say to anyone who's thinking about making any kind of switch. Absolutely. Is you have to kind of weigh that cost versus the gain from transitioning, because it's 2 or 3 months to transition. Now, and
that's having a team too. There's a lot of dental software out there that doesn't even have anything like a transition team.
No. I mean, they just sometimes. I'm sure there's probably places that just say, okay, your data's migrated, have fun with it.
That was my experience with Open Dental. Whenever we went over to it, I said, how much will it be to migrate? Oh, it'll be this much money. They migrated the records and they said, okay, you're all done. I'm like,
yeah. Bye-bye, go with God.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
You and I could probably sit for an hour thinking of all the companies that have just kind of thrown us in the pool and let us swim. And one thing I will say is, boy did they try their hardest to get everything. I mean, there's a little minutia here that you have to put in. How do you like your notes this way or that way? How do you want your AR to age? Lots of different considerations to think of on it. And so you end up having a 1-hour weekly conference with the transition rep every week for a couple months. Sometimes it'll involve you, the doctor. Sometimes it'll involve your front desk, and you kind of go through and check and balance things. And I'll tell you, they set a go live date, and that's a hard date on the calendar where you want to launch. And boy, when we were about a month out, we were thinking, are we going to make it?
Right.
Is this going to work? There's so many things that just didn't feel like they were completely finished. And as it turns out, as many things as you check off, there are things that will come up that aren't done on launch day, and you have to just be okay with that.
Right.
And as you know, there are different personality types that have different levels of comfort with this. They're more spontaneous people who just, they're okay with jumping in the pool with all their clothes on. And there are some people who want to have everything kind of all neat and tidy and planned. And it's going to be tougher for those personality types, regardless of which software you decide to jump. So maybe at some point we need to talk about why I decided to jump, and, at the end of the day, why I like the software, because I think that's important too.
Well, tell us a little bit about the any other trials or tribulations you had in onboarding, but let's also talk about what did cause you to jump over. And by the way, for my part, since I know I was at least a little part of that, I am so sorry about all the stuff that did go wrong. But they tell me consistently, like every time I talk to someone from Carestack, they actually mention you by name. And they say, man, we've gotten so much good feedback from that guy. They love you. They absolutely over the moon with you.
Yeah, they keep trying to get me out there, and well, one of these days we'll get our calendars to line up. Yeah. Go get to meet them out in Florida face to face. The main thing, again, I keep going back to personalities, but it's so true. Who you have on your team makes a tremendous difference whenever you make changes. There are people who, I talk about personalities, people who like to plan versus people who are spontaneous. There's also people who like to change versus people who don't.
Yes.
You can see behind me this whole room full of technology here. Disclosure, some of them are sponsors for me too.
I say, is that a Sprint Ray printer back there? Ooh.
It is, and it makes your life so easy and wonderful and perfect. Oh, where's my check? Okay.
Right. Well, I'm not getting one from them, but I thought I would make that call out.
I've been known to get one or two. So anyway, going back to my thing about personalities, one of the things I discovered is that I have a personality that loves to try things and change things. I have a comfort zone, but I also am comfortable trying new things. I mean, I've tried all sorts of new fabrication techniques, milling techniques, printing techniques, scanning. I'm open to trying and changing lots of things up. I'll change a bonding agent, if you can believe that. I know some dentists, you can take their OptiBond away from their cold dead fingers. They love that.
For me, it was Futurabond. I loved Futurabond Universal. It was amazing stuff. Well, besides, there's nothing like telling your assistant, "Hey, F you."
There you go. So what I learned is that I had some staff members that were open to change, but some very key ones who did not like the change very much. And you and I have talked about this at length offline about it, but there are certain members of my team that didn't go well with it, and better for worse. We ended up, after we had all transitioned away, after we had changed everything over, got everything operational for various reasons. Every single member of after a few months into Carestack, I actually experienced 100% staff turnover.
Oh, now was this because of Carestack? Was this because of other stuff? What was going on there?
No. So Carestack didn't force anybody off the team. Nobody quit because of Carestack. We had one staff member who was retiring and was semi-retiring and moving out of the state. I had another who was transitioning into hygiene school. So just for various reasons, we would have people, we'd have people change. And so I ended up with a 100% staff turnover. And the second time around, I decided to do things a little differently. I decided, even though the employment market was tough, I would hire people based on their personality, their positivity, and their chemistry.
Absolutely.
And then let training make up the difference.
I love that philosophy.
It made an immense difference. I mean, you you can, I mean, you were around through some of the hardest parts of it, and boy, was I in some dark phases in my life. And boy, what a difference, what a night and day difference the right people make. And it's interesting now, you know, I have people on my staff who are positive and they're problem solvers, and they try to solve things. They will actually, you know, imagine this, they will actually work with support for an entire day without telling me. So like for Friday, we had somebody's in I came in on Friday, and my front desk gal had spent the entire day trying to fix a Mango voice setting by herself. And we have, you know, my treatment coordinator is busy working out things with Carestack RCM and trying to get the workflow down. They're trying to solve, I say, we need to solve the lab problem. And rather than waiting for me to give them steps A, B, or C, they actually try to figure out a system for themselves.
That's fantastic.
And so you need people like that.
You feel better coming into work. It's
Yeah.
my role was always, if I ever get up in the morning and I don't want to go into work, someone on my team needs to be fired, because there's something at work that's making me not want to go in, and I'm the only person who's absolutely non-negotiable. So it must be someone else has to go.
Yeah, that's true.
Unless I was just in a really crappy mood. I mean, you know, you can't hold that against somebody. You're fired because I'm grumpy, but no,
you
it's
make an allowance for that.
Exactly. So talk to me about why you jumped. You know, what made you say, hey, I want to do this thing?
My name is Vu Lee, and I'm an Eagle Soft abuse survivor.
You can make me spit on my microphone, Vu.
Be careful, that thing's not waterproof.
It's not.
So I used Eagle Soft from 2005 to until last year, or till 2021. And you know, I got into it basically because when I first started in office, I didn't know anything, and someone told me, oh, just call Shiner Patterson and they'll walk you through everything. And of course, they happily walked me through everything.
You're gonna need 2 of these and 3 of these
and 15 of those.
Right.
And yeah, use this, use that. Here's a, you know, so yeah, so basically we started with the Eagle Soft, and so, you know, you just use it because that's what you know. And you just kind of, and over the years I noticed, you know, I see lots of these other programs changing. How come Eagle Soft doesn't change?
There's no
and you know,
for dentists.
Here's this capability. Hey, you know, we suddenly have this, new ability to, who was it that first came along? Was it Demand Force? I think it was Lighthouse. I don't know who was the first reminder software.
Yes.
One of those. So we would go through, for a year or two at a time, we'd go through one of those reminding add-on vendors. So, okay, we want a new reminder service. We want new, you know, later on, we want no reviews. So I had gone through Lighthouse, Demand Force, Yappy, who of the bolt-ons we were very happy with.
I'd agree. Gina's got a great piece of software.
Yeah, Yappy kind of had some interface things that I was kind of nitpicky about. And that's kind of why the Carestack people love and hate me, because I'm very nitpicky about UI details. But basically we would go into these things and, okay, we got to add this, we got to add that, we've got to add this for analytics, we got to add this for reminders, we got to add this for reviews. And at some point, you know, you kind of realize that you've got a whole bunch of stuff bolted together that doesn't necessarily talk to each other super well.
Well, and even the big programs, when they do finally add these things, they generally purchase a company that's already doing it, and they just strap it right on to Dentrix or on the Eagle Soft, and it's all bridged software, and every bridge you've got between software is a bad thing. It's a point of failure. Particularly if you have an update in Windows, and then they have to really update all the strap-on things that you've got stuck on there too, which was my only real complaint about Yappy whenever I did use it, is that they were a little bit slow to catch up to Microsoft updates. But I feel your pain. It's like Carestack always calls it subscription fatigue, and I don't. To me, it was inefficiency fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
and then you'd sit there and you'd inefficiency. You know, when you bring that up, EagleSoft required gratuitous clicking. Now, as it turns out, everybody has gratuitous clicking. Some have it to differing degrees, but I think every dental software package, now I'll even say Carestack included, has parts of the interface where, why do I need 20 clicks to do this?
Right.
They're getting better at it. And one of the things, but see, that's a key difference though. And actually that's a bigger difference than the on-prem difference. So for the non-nerds out there, on-prem is short for on-premises. And so software like EagleSoft, Dentrix, Open Dental are on-prem software. It means that the server runs on your premises. We used to have we still have it. We have a little machine about the size of one of those basketballs there that runs EagleSoft. It's still running actually right now. Nobody's talking to it, but it's still running. And so on-premises software, the exchange, what you get in exchanges is very fast and everything. With Carestack is on the cloud. It's sometimes called SaaS or software as a subscription. Right. And what that means is, just like your Gmail, it just sits there on a server away from your office and everything gets done there. And that is a major insecurity point with a lot of doctors, is that, hey, I'm trusting someone else with my data. Well, I've got news for you. You've always been trusting someone else with your data.
Yeah.
It's barely yours to begin with. So EagleSoft, though, bigger than that on-prem versus on-cloud difference, the biggest difference with EagleSoft is the speed or lack of change. You can open EagleSoft today and it will look about 95% the same as it looked in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
It's super dated. I mean, you open it up and it looks like Windows 95. And okay, it's ugly. You know what? That's okay. Open Dental's kind of ugly too. Mm-hmm. And people love it. Not everybody cares about that stuff. I kind of do. But they just don't change. And what's worse is, okay, if you don't want to change the interface, we can deal with that. But there are bugs they wouldn't fix. There are security problems they wouldn't fix. Talk to my friend Justin Schaefer about that. That's a whole podcast in of itself. But yeah, EagleSoft is they just move at the speed of slow. And now, as it turns out, I feel that all the big on-premises vendors are also shifting to the cloud because they've realized that not only is it easier for them, it also makes them more money. Right. And so we are definitely seeing we're going to start seeing a passive aggressive back boilering of all the on-premises dental software. I predict they'll just intentionally let them stagnate and put only the new goodies in their on-cloud offerings.
Oh no, absolutely. It's the way they do business. I remember my decision point came to me for several reasons whenever I switched. And it was the number of clicks I had to use, like in Dentrix in the chart versus the front desk view. There was one thing that I had to click 15 buttons to get to it was like 3 buttons from up front. And that annoyed me for several reasons. First of all, it's highly inefficient. Second of all, it makes training a nightmare, right? And so I tried to get that fixed, and I wrote them and they said, oh, well, you only have 5 suggestions you can make a year.
What?
Yeah, 5 suggestions a year. And then they told me that then the community would vote and upvote or downvote my suggestions. And that's, those 5 things are what they were going to work on that year. I'm like, you got to be freaking kidding me. So I don't know if you ever actually went through the process of trying to get them to fix anything, but I mean, they turn slower than an aircraft carrier. They really do.
Yeah, they really do. And one of the things that's been great about Carestack is that I mean, they'll straight up tell you within a day or two, you'll get an email saying uh, your suggestion was accepted, and how fast, whether or not it's whether or not they're going to actively develop it or not. They'll just tell you. Now, they won't promise a timeline, and I don't expect them to,
Right.
but they will say it's under active development if they do it, which is good. Versus we got, crickets the other way around, and we can deal with inefficient UI, but we can't deal with our outright bugs that crash the software.
Right.
And that's the one thing I don't miss is Eaglesoft's infamous tail spiral of death if you lose network connectivity.
What would it do?
It would actually, an error box would pop up, and you just perpetually hit OK, and another one would pop up, and another one. So if you lose your IP, basically what happened is I think, as I understand it, the scheduler requires a network check every few seconds to keep updated. Okay,
so it
fair
was waiting for an ACK message to come through for
Something
acknowledgement
like
of a data packet it sent.
something like that. So yeah, it phones home every 5 seconds or so.
Mhm.
And if it phones home and nobody's there, what it should do is just call again. But what it does instead is it goes into an infinite crash window. The only way out of it, I actually had to write, or somebody on the internet wrote something called Kill Eaglesoft. They wrote a program called Kill Eaglesoft. And what it would do is go in on a low level and actually kill the processes. That was the only way to kill it. And this is something I told them about over a decade ago. And it's a solvable problem, but they don't want to solve it. It's
Right.
not, maybe they can, maybe they don't know how, I don't know, but it just wasn't a priority to them. And it's weird. And, that's one thing I will say about Carestack. Do they have all their stuff together? Mostly. I mean, but there's some issues. But here's the thing. I get the impression, and the history actually, that I'm being listened to. And I think that's important, because you are going to see some software that's less mature than Carestack. You're going to see some that is more mature than Carestack. But they are working very hard to continually make it better. And every month I get this email of new features. I actually am having a hard time keeping up with all the features they're bringing in. Some of them are, kind of cool. Why didn't I think of that? Some of them, I'll be honest, are, why didn't you think of that sooner?
Right.
But all in all, I mean, I'm very happy with the rate of improvement. It's kind of a nice balance, right? Because you want it to be, you want them to be continuously improving. You don't want it to be so disorienting that your staff start getting confused. I think they're striking a good balance there between fixing issues and improvement and keeping the users relatively anchored. And that is a tough balance. And not be too buggy.
You also have Carestack University online. Are they updating that pretty consistently so that you can have team train on the new features there? Are they having like a feature pop-up that says, hey, new this month? That
newsletter. They don't have pop-ups. They have newsletters, and they have, the new thing they're doing right now is splash screen ads. And it's not really ad's the wrong word. That's bad. That's pejorative. A splash screen announcement. Okay, we have a seminar this month. We have a webinar this month. And it's very unobtrusive. You don't have to click through it to get away from it. Your login box aside. So yeah, they have a splash screen announcements that they use, and a newsletter on email.
So now the big, ugly 800-pound gorilla in the room, and you mentioned connectivity issues. Let's talk about being 100% cloud. Well, you're really not 100% cloud, are you? Because you have a CBCT?
So I would say we are about 95% cloud. You're right. The CBCT, in order to confuse my staff maximally, I have a Carestream CBCT and a Carestack software, and they're totally different. They do totally different things.
Did you see all the hullabaloo? Carestream went out of business, medical, not dental.
Yes, they sold operations to, I forget who. They in turn were spun off from Kodak.
Mm-hmm.
I forget who's I don't know. Anyway, we're getting off on a tangent.
The whole point was that everyone was like, oh, I told you that Carestack thing wasn't going to work.
Oh
They went
no.
bankrupt. I'm like, I'm telling you, it's Carestream. It's not Carestack. So
Yeah, there's
your
there's too much caring in dentistry. We need to stop
That's
that.
right. We need to stop caring completely. So talk to us about the cloud. I mean, that's a big concern for a lot of people is, am I going to lose everything I've got? Am I going to be able to work? What happens
Yeah.
when the internet goes down? Talk to us about the realities of those things.
I think that's a very good question. So the answer, the backbone of Carestack is a Microsoft service called Azure. Now, a lot of you guys don't know about this, but Microsoft and Amazon, you think of Microsoft as a company that makes Windows and Office, but their largest growing and most profitable division is Azure. Just like Amazon, their largest growing and most profitable division is Amazon Web Services. Both these companies basically sublease their extra server space. And actually, it's become such a business now that the server space, this is what they do. They rent out servers to companies to use to run their businesses on the cloud.
Which would be PaaS rather than SaaS. Because it's a platform as a service.
Yes,
or as a subscription.
So Carestack runs on top of Azure servers. Now, the reason that's important is redundancy. So right now, when I run EagleSoft, I have exactly one server. And if you have, signed up with one of the more premier dental IT services.
Dark Horse Tech.
Yes.
And that is a non-sponsored commercial there. Dark Horse Tech is the best. So you were about to talk about virtualization and
yes,
and piggybacking.
So if you are Hot Stuff, I have just one virtual server for EagleSoft. If you're Hot Stuff, you may have two virtual servers or physical servers. You may have as many as two. I've never seen a dental office with more than two.
I'm always surprised when I see someone who has a backup. To be honest with you,
yeah,
most of us don't.
The vast majority of people have a single physical server running their dental software, and so people say, "Oh my gosh, what's going to happen here in the cloud?" It's so what happens if something happens? Have you ever thought about you have just one PC versus Microsoft, who has thousands of them, and so you actually have more redundancy there. You do have now. I will grant you that you require internet access. So that was one failover point that I had to actually enforce, was the internet connection. So we did have the internet go out a couple times in our office. And so what we had to do there is I actually picked up a modem. You can buy, I have a Ubiquity internet system and so you can pick up a little modem and I actually have like a little burner SIM card I bought from T-Mobile. It cost me $10 a month. So that little burner SIM card goes inside that modem, and that modem plugs into my Ubiquity. The Ubiquity is smart enough to know that when it sees this kind of modem and the internet goes out, it switches over to the modem, and I am back in business. That's something that cost me $10 a month. Anybody should do that, regardless of whether you're on SaaS or not, to be honest.
So is it a truly bonded system, or is it actually just a backup?
It's just a backup. You're honestly, it's like 4G level data speed.
You're not going to be going anywhere fast, but you'll still be going.
No, it's a compact spare tire.
That's it. That's exactly what I was going to say. It's like driving
a 13-inch donut. I actually don't have one of those in my current car. But yeah, that's what it is. So anyhow, so you internet failover, that's something you should get regardless of whether. You'd be surprised, even in office with on-premises software, how much you lose when you lose internet connectivity. So you are a little bit more exposed in that sense. But I'll be honest, we've had in a year, I'd say we've had maybe 2 or 3 slowdowns, but nothing fatal. I still recommend, whether you're on cloud or on premises, that you print your schedule the night before.
Hey guys, this is Doc Huffpower, founder of the Business of Dentistry and host of the Dear Doc podcast. Today, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about one of our sponsors. 4G Dental Labs has been a sponsor of the Business of Dentistry for over 2 years now. They're a family-owned business located here in Houston, Texas. They're fast, they're reliable, but best of all, They provide affordable quality. They're just plain, honest, good people. For our TBOD members, for your first 20 crowns, every fifth one will be free. Contact 4G Dental Labs at 833-682-8901. Again, that's 833-682-8901. Or you can mail or even just stop by. Jeff Guidey, the owner, would be glad to see you. Absolutely.
Because that will save your butt regardless. We're in a very technological age and stuff does go down, but I'll tell you, as far as the system goes, it's been fairly reliable. I did ask in advance amongst my friends some questions they'd have for this pod. One of them was, what about speed and images? Well, I actually decided to jump a little further in the pool. So Carestack has practice management. They have reminders, they have reviews and all that stuff. But I decided to, they don't have imaging.
Mm-hmm.
And so
I
my
think they work with
images,
Tiger or something or other for some virtual imaging, but I've never had anyone who actually used it that I talked to.
so Carestack has an offering called Carestack Imaging.
Mm-hmm.
Carestack Imaging, actually, to be fair, every single cloud software that I know of right now has imaging as a separate product. So Dentrix Ascend has a separate imaging, Planet DDS Curve. They all use separate imaging for a couple different reasons. One, it's very hard to do imaging. It requires completely different skill set and needs. Two, a lot of dentists want to keep imaging on premises for speed reasons, for peace of mind, for device compatibility, whatever it is. A lot of dentists don't want their images on the cloud just yet. And so Carestack will let you work with any imaging program, and so will most of their competitors too. I started with Carestack Imaging, which is a relabeled Tiger View. So just like your, Equate brand Listerine is Listerine made private label.
So this is new to me because I didn't know that you actually went with Tiger View. So that's cool. What are your experiences with it?
The short answer is didn't like it.
Okay.
I'll just be honest. And here's the thing.
That's why I'm interviewing you, because I knew you were going to be.
The honest answer is we hated it for 1,000 different reasons. The interface was bad. It wouldn't necessarily work all the time. It was slow. It was cloud-based, but oh my gosh, the migration took like 2 full months for them to migrate my images over. Why? We don't know. We still don't know to this day. It took forever to migrate. It was slow. The interface was bad. There was no mobile device support. I could go on and on.
That's a big deal, because one of the big things about having cloud is that you can run it on a mobile device. Whenever you get a call at 2:00 in the morning because a patient's in pain, and you can just look at the record and prescribe something.
Yeah, that is definitely a huge advantage. And I'll tell you, I know a lot of people, when they want to look at records at home, they just remote in, it's fine. And that's true. Remoting in works when you have a PC.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you, it's so much better being able to log in directly to a browser for your software than using remote access. Remote access
less slow,
is laggy, it's pixelated.
Yeah.
And we don't think much about it when we have no choice. But when you do it the better way, you realize, oh my gosh, I fought electric handpieces for a long time. And I'm fine with my air driven. It's great.
Right.
Total
game changer. It really is.
And then I got the electric handpieces and I'm like, oh, my margins are so much better.
Did you have on electric handpieces, just to give another tangent here? Did you find you had to reteach yourself how to prep? Because with an air handpiece, I feathered. With an electric handpiece, I milled.
There is a difference for sure. Yeah. So I still, maybe I don't know what you mean by feathering and milling.
So whenever I would prep, I'd brush, like paint my margin on. And with the electric, I found I could just put it there and pull it to where I wanted it, and it would just cut like butter.
Straight
and so
through.
my margins were cleaner because of that, because it was just more like milling. You tell the machine where to go and it cuts rather than painting,
So I still do a little bit of both,
Mhm.
depending on what burr I'm using. If I'm overloading I can tell with my hands and eyes,
Right.
if I'm overpowering the burr or clogging it, I have to ease off a little bit to allow the time. So for those times I'll come on and off. But you're right. You can, if you have a spiral cutting burr that has a channel, yeah, you can plow for sure.
It's so nice.
I call it plowing. I don't call it milling.
Well, it's just the way I thought of it is, it's just the difference in the hand movements. One is much more angular. One is more circular, but
Chris,
each their own.
I'm honestly surprised that I'm the one having to keep you on topic more.
Huh? Me?
Isn't it
No.
usually the opposite?
I don't know. I don't ever find that you jump around on topic too much.
Oh, right. Right.
But that's what this is about. It's about a conversation, and it is about Carestack, obviously, but it's about your personal experience with it. So I will get back on topic, Vu.
Yeah. So Tiger View, and we never called it Carestack imaging because really, it's Tiger View. When you turn it on, it says Tiger View. We never liked it, and to their credit, they were totally gracious about it. They got everything moved, and they helped us. Actually, I got a call from the VP. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention his name or not, but got a call from the VP, and he said, "Hey, if this doesn't work, let's try this. There's this company here. They're local to you that has something," and it was Soda Imaging, and we've had a really great relationship, actually. So they not only helped me, made the introduction for me. Soda has been a really good product for cloud imaging. Now they are working through Carestack with me, as in, I turn on Carestack, I open imaging. It is bridged. Actually, all imaging solutions are bridged in a way. So that's one thing I will say EagleSoft did more transparent, or did more smoothly, was the jump between imaging and the main software. EagleSoft makes it almost invisible, the jump, even though they are separate software. Carestack, this is one thing, if you read the Carestack forums, I've been harping with them about handling that handshake. But once you make that handshake, Soda Cloud is a really great cloud software. Is it as fast as on premises? No, it's a little bit slower. I'll be honest, it is. You have to wait an extra second or two for your images. If that's a deal breaker for you, then keep on premises. You can use Carestack with your on premises software. They bridge with Dexis, with EagleSoft, with is it Apteryx? Yeah, they bridge with all the big ones. So you can keep your on-premises software and just use the cloud for your practice management if you want. I love Soda Cloud Imaging. I love what they're up to. They are developing, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, forgive me if I'm not, Dustin. They're developing an iPhone client. It's freaking amazing. I actually bought an iPad once I saw what they were up to. And so they are developing that. So right now my staff can actually take pictures on the iPhone using my photodontist lights. You'd think if I was a smart product person, I'd have it ready for.
I was gonna say, where is it? I need a diffuser here. I need.
God dang it! It was. Yeah, I don't have one here. I'll have to see.
We'll have you get up and go and grab one in a couple of minutes here. Maybe you can summon one of the team.
Anyway, so my staff can take the patient record, the patient photos on their iPhone. They can log into Soda Cloud and upload them straight from the iPhone into their cloud record.
That's amazing.
So that's great. I will say one thing that we are working, or one thing I've been pressing Carestack on is mobile support. Right now, the mobile experience on Carestack does need help. It is definitely, they basically do not have any direct mobile support right now. What you get is something, whatever the iPhone can render, but you're getting the desktop site still. So Soda Cloud, Soda Imaging, to their credit, has a pretty good mobile interface now. Their imaging software is fully usable. I should disclose I have a KOL relationship with them. So I'll just get that out of the way. But Soda Cloud has a full mobile imaging support. So you can run the software on the iPad and the iPhone, and you can view all the images great. And they're actually working on taking the images within their software. So that's an amazing partner to have alongside with Carestack, who
Absolutely.
will, let you partner with anybody anyway. So that's really great.
So let's talk a little bit about the bottom line here, financials. What did you find? I know that some people they begin using Carestack and they say, oh, it's too expensive, and I think those are the people probably who shouldn't have switched to begin with, because they weren't using a whole lot of third party, which was always my thing. Is if you're starting up in a startup practice, this is a great fit for you, because most of the bugs and the problems are changing over from one software to another. And most of the stuff that you're going to want, you can always add on later and have it, in situ. You can have it within that same platform, which is really nice. What do the economics look like for you?
So as far as the economics go, Soda Imaging, if you were to subscribe, is $130 a month. I'm plugging in, so I should probably disclose that they are waiving my membership fee. The Carestack is $600 per month. If you were to subscribe to their Carestack Imaging, that's your choice. That would be $130 a month. Soda Cloud, I think, I think Soda Cloud is actually a little bit more than that. I think they're $150 or $199 per month for their imaging. They have 2D imaging right now. They do not have 3D yet. That $600 from Carestack, though, includes a reminder service. It includes a very nice texting service. I haven't talked about that this whole hour, but that's one of my favorite things about it, is the ability to text your patients so seamlessly. There's two or three
payments
parts.
too, if I'm not mistaken.
Payments are not integrated directly. Payments are one of those things you do have to bolt on. They have a couple different partners. Their official one, Blue Pay, is one that I'm using right now, and it's been great. It's they give you a USB slider, or you can punch in the credit card directly into the software, or they have a text to pay, which is killer.
Right,
So
that's what I was talking about with the text to pay.
Yeah. If you trust your patients, I tell my staff, use your discretion on that. Of course, you want to be careful. Not everybody in your patient pool is someone you can trust to pay later.
Right.
Pay when you get home.
Tell them the text before the appointment.
You can do that too. Yeah,
Yes.
you totally could do that. That's a great idea, actually.
We were always pay up front, but we were fee for service. So a little bit of a different beast.
Yeah.
So you love the text service.
Reminders come with it.
Okay.
So reminders come with it. So you can subtract whatever cost that costed you. The reviews come with it. I'll be honest, I did not use that service. It might be very good. We never tried it. We decided to go with Swell, and that transition actually took about hooking up Swell actually took about 3 months to get going. And it was just a combination of all sorts of mishaps. But to Carestack's credit, as soon as I got them back involved again, I just signed up with Swell and try to pester Swell. But as soon as Carestack got involved, they actually custom engineered different solutions to get Swell to integrate. And the reason why
that's unheard of, man. That's just
it isn't. Do you think EagleSoft would ever do this for me? No. So that's one thing I will say about them, is that the Carestack team, they really do go the extra mile for you. So we went ahead and we're using Swell now. And the reason why I went with Swell instead of Carestack's own built-in is Swell is one of 3 companies that have a direct Google integration. And so they will hop you in directly. You can directly enter your 5 stars in review and hit OK, and it posts into Google reviews. That's crucial. Every other service, including Carestack's at the moment, you will be dumped off in the Google Maps page, and you'll have to scroll 2.5 screens to find where that 5-star place is. It's not easy. So,
well, it sounds like that'll be coming up in the Carestack forums sometime soon.
Yeah, I think I'm sure they'll be watching this and going and taking notes, and I hope they and honestly, my contact at Carestack was totally gracious about it. Said, yeah, we get it. We're going to help you. We're going to help you with that. And so that was an add-on. It's great that they work with you on this. They didn't have to. They could have just said, hey, you have a service, you don't need one, and just leave you at that. So we work with them on that. We did one of the things that happened early in my transition is I lost my billing person, an insurance person. She left. I have my opinions on the benefits of that myself, but I'll keep those to myself today. Sure. So that person who actually, is actually now, I still have I've seen her pop up on social media feeds. She's happily employed at a job that I think she should have been in all along. And so it worked out for her really well, and it worked out for both of us really well. And I told her that would be the case. I said 5 years from now, we're both going to be very much better off. And it was true. It actually only took 1 year. It took less than 1 year. So anyway, back to billing. One of the things that we did was we switched to Carestack RCM. And for those people who don't know that acronym, RCM is Revenue Cycle Management. You have an RCM sponsor, I'm sure. Carestack right now has their own in-house service. I'm not aware if they have any third parties that work with them yet.
Mm-hmm.
I will point out that is one potential downside with Carestack right now is that if you love their offerings as stock, great. If you want to add a new muffler or new rims to that car, there aren't as many compatible vendors. So that's something you're going to have to do your due diligence on. I personally think the reminders are working great. I did not test the review service personally. I think their automated statements, we're gonna try that out soon too. But RCM has been great in terms of they replaced our billing person about 80%.
That's fantastic.
So that is a manpower saver. It does cost extra. That's a separate decision every dentist has to make. I would encourage everybody though, regardless of what practice management software you're on, if you are short on manpower right now, and who isn't, if you have a hard time hiring and who doesn't, that you should look into services like that will do some of these tasks for you. I know it's not, people say, oh, it just takes a minute to log into insurance and get the benefits. Well, maybe it does. Maybe it takes, but maybe that website, maybe you forget the password, or maybe you have to end up calling on the phone because they don't tell you the night guard benefit. We can tell Carestack RCM, we want them specifically to check on night guards, crown benefits, the posterior composite alternative benefit, whether it's there or not. So we have a specific list that they have customized for us that we can have every policy checked for. Is it 100% accurate? No, we have occasional issues, but they go through, and every month we have a conference call where they'll say, hey, this is what went right. And these are things that, we've tried to help. And these are things where we need you to help. And so that's been very beneficial for our practice. I feel that saves me most of one staff person in terms of work.
How did your percent collections respond to this outsourcing?
it's about the same, I'd say. No huge change there. Right now we are going through, right now we have a lot of AR to catch up on, though. There's a lot of part of the I want to be very measured in what I say here, but part of the front desk, transitioning the front desk personnel during that transition time, and maybe perhaps a little bit before then, because of the difficulty of that former person transitioning to Carestack, a lot of our AR fell behind. And so that's something we've been kind of continually working on. The practice right now is in right now we're kind of in a rev up mode. We've been trying to, a lot of our systems, when you have 100% turnover, all the systems, you kind of learn when that happens. Between transitioning my practice management software and transitioning my staff, I learned a lot of things didn't work as well as they should.
Yes.
And so that's been a test for us, is keeping up with all those bits of practice that, frankly, I never paid much attention to my detriment, if I'm honest.
Well, final words. We've been sitting here for about an hour and a half now. So those of you who hung on, if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them below. Vu is a member of the group, and I'm sure he'll respond to you if we don't get to them here. But tell us your final takeaways. Are you glad you did this? I mean, on some level, you have to be not, just because of the things you had to overcome. But in final wash, what are your thoughts?
So in my final thoughts, I'd say, this was easy for me. We had a week or two ago, I had to go back into EagleSoft for something. And so I had to fire up that old server. I had to get that server back turned on again. I had to open up the EagleSoft client, and I opened it up, and boy, oh boy, you should have seen the pucker face I had on me. It was so bad. Just going back, and sometimes you think, no, regardless of what you think, what you need to do is look back at your past and decide, am I better off than I was before? And I think hugely so. The way we do notes is better. The way we schedule is better. We haven't even scratched the surface yet in terms of all the capability of Carestack. And so I feel I'm better supported. I feel I'm better listened to. I would not go back. No, I'm very happy that we did switch.
So who do you think Carestack is the best fit for? If you had to look out across TBOD or any of the audience of the podcast as well, and you had to pick someone and say, hey, look, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this, who would you make the recommendation to?
Now, we talked earlier on in the broad. We talked earlier in our session about the difficulty of transitioning. It's a long process. It's hard. It is a crucible. It will tell you who is a problem solver and who is good for change and who isn't. So reiterating that again, you need yourself personally. You have to be someone who is open to change, and you have to be someone who is open to going through difficulty and a little bit of sometimes a lot of difficulty in moments, and you can have a team that understands that follows your vision, the practice, and is behind you 100%. That's hugely important. The best offices for it, besides the personnel, yes, a startup would be the best case scenario for a cloud system, because they don't have the investment yet per se in a big expensive server that they will have to set aside.
And the growing pains aren't going to be there.
And the growing pains of that. They don't have the procedural inertia. I know how to click my appointments with my eyes closed. Well, right. You have to relearn how to, you're going from, a car to a bicycle or vice versa. The control system's totally different in Carestack. Yeah, there's analogous things. You still have an appointment book. You still have a chart. But everything is in a different place. Some things are faster, some things are slower, but they're all different. That's one thing that Carestack philosophically decided they would go clean slate. And so they tried to make things, and there's some real big pros to that. There's really big cons to that. One of which is if you have staff that want things a certain way, it may not be. And there are things you can customize, but the overall architecture of it, the bones of it aren't changeable.
Mm-hmm.
So I like it. I think it's organized in a very streamlined, efficient way. I love we haven't talked about this. I love the way the billing ledger goes. I can click on a crown and then the crown is highlighted and every single AR line item that is related to that crown is highlighted. The claim's highlighted.
That is one of my favorite features. And I'm glad you brought it up because I didn't remember that. I mean, it'll tell you as you're treatment planning this crown, if the missing tooth clause is going to affect them getting a bridge or something. And that's just, why hasn't anyone else done this? That was amazing to me whenever I first saw it.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming on today and giving us the benefit of your struggles and trials and tribulations and victories.
Mm-hmm.
And as always, I appreciate what you do for the dental community. And if you haven't picked up your 3D printer yet, you guys should go ahead and talk to Vu here. And if you're not using photography in your practice consistently, and those of you who tell me anything about any of the photos I take and you like them or whatever, Vu is actually the person who got me on the train to begin with, taking photos clinically. And ultimately is the reason that I do all the photography I do personally. And it's been such a wealth of enjoyment for me that I'm always truly appreciative of that. So, well, folks, thanks for joining us. Vu, thank you for joining us. And
thanks, Chris.
We'll see you all on the flip side.
Thanks for listening to the Dear Doc podcast, your source for the business and legal questions associated with your dental practice. Don't forget to subscribe to the Dear Doc podcast on all major platforms.